Hi, lovers and leaders. Welcome to another moment with me, Dr. Sarah. So I'm making this video because I do find, even sometimes with my clients and other people I see on the social media streets who are listening to various type of positive, um, positive, inspirational gurus of some kind, or various type of therapists or psychologists, and they want to change sincerely, but some of them want to change, but they don't realize what really it entails. And some people are changing, but it's just very superficial change. So, most of you know that I am an industrial organizational psychologist, okay? But outside of that, I still provide counsel to individuals outside of counsel from like the workplace. Like I have leaders that I counsel that have businesses or are employees, okay, leaders, managers, blah, blah, blah. So I don't just counsel for people who are in the workplace or have their own businesses. I also provide counsel um, for other concerns like relationships, etc. And I ground my counsel for me in the works of the religion, which is called Christianity, which is based on what Jesus Christ did on the cross. Now, let me just keep 100%. The root of psychology actually has its roots in spirituality, in religion. Yes, it does. The ethical concepts of psychology, the various theories about the changing of how the mind changes, all based on actual religious practices, to be fair. But to hold space, especially my PhD, the realm of psychology, this modern day psychology, is based on scientific research, okay? It's very rigorous, all right? Whether you're doing a qualitative study, some of you understand this, whether you're doing a quantitative study or a mixed method study, it's all based on scientific research. So it's all based on data from people. All right, hold on, just hang on, I'm getting somewhere with this. So psychology is based on data from people. All right, looking at questioning certain phenomena in society, in families, in religion, in nations, and going through some assumptions, okay, of why certain this kind of phenomenon is happening, then giving some hypothesis, making some predictions, then trying to piece together a sound scientific methodology to test out your questions and your assumptions. And then there's some results, and of course there's some inferences, and you come up with some conclusions, okay, to answer the original research question. I say all this to say that psychology in itself, the modern day psychology, has limitations. And this is why many of you cannot change effectively. All right. A lot of the frameworks people are using, whether you're a therapist, psychologist, or you're just a coach, a coach, and some of you are great coaches. A coach, use certain frameworks. It's still based on the limitation of the human mind. I mean, look at AI is coming out now, okay? But above AI and the human mind, there is the mind, all right, that says, the mind of Christ that says and has done, to really change, you need to crush the old self. Okay, I've skipped a lot of steps here because I want to get to the heart of the message of this video. You need to crush your old self, all right? Because psychology, when you're giving counseling, oftentimes the approach and the expectation from the client is fix my current self for me. But let's be honest, it's hard to fix your old self because your old self has learned behaviors, all right, that creates a lot of resistances to this new ideal self that you may have in your mind or you don't have in your mind. One thing I love about grounding my practice in the framework of what Jesus Christ has created, this new covenant, this new self, this new mind, is that he shows me on the cross. He is a physical man, okay? That you have to crush the old man. You got to crush the old woman. He or she has to die to self. There's no point trying to create new wine from old wine. All right? Even though there's a lot of rhetoric out there of trying to change yourself to become a new self, the reality, all right, the real power comes from understanding your old self has to die. You have literally got to give up the ghost of the old self. All right? Because as long as the old self is there, it's still going to always fight the ideal self you're trying to attain. How many times have you gone on a 21-day cleanse or a 21-day fast or a 21-day, some framework to change your mindset? And it doesn't last, because what they really don't tell you is your old self has to get out of the way. It has to die. You got to forget about her. You got to forget about him. The imagery that Christianity gives is on the cross, where your flesh, okay, your old habits, your old thinking patterns that you inherited, the old traumas, okay, that keep, keeping you in the same place, those old traumas that give you those negative messages, all right, those negative whisperings, those old traumas and habits that attract the same people, different faces, and you continue to entertain that same spirit, that same energy, that same personality, and you keep blaming the other person. But the reality, if you look in the mirror, you are the common denominator. You haven't died yet. Still there. Still there. In my sessions, I will certainly start off with that mindset of, okay, you need to change, or there's something they tell me they want to change, right? But after a while, I would get to the root of the matter and I would say to them, do you want your old self to die or not? And sometimes you get that, look, what do you mean die? Yeah, it has, you need to have a rebirth. And that rebirth starts by, first of all, holding in space, in frame, in your mind, your ideal self. That has to be, and it has to be a self that you can't do without the power and the influence of the Holy Spirit that dwells in you, that influences you from the inside out. Point blank, period. Now, yes, there's some clients that are unbelievers. So, depending, what I'm discerning from them, I'm not going to just like shoot out Holy Spirit, right? No, God has given me wisdom to navigate that. Because, sometimes when people are unbelievers, they're like, oh, no, I don't want to convert. It's just like this fear thing. So God has given me wisdom. Thank you. And it's, continually, I'm always asking for more wisdom, always praying for more wisdom, because the reality is you need a higher power to take you away, to save you, all right, from that other power that kept you in a dark space, kept you confused, kept you anxious, kept you, starting careers or jobs that were really not for you, kept you in a space that you don't know how to communicate with difficult people, all right? And kept you losing out on opportunities and feeling defeated. You need a greater power. And that's the Holy Spirit for me. Okay? And for many people. The Holy Spirit gives you truth of who you are. And that's one of the things I do in my sessions is, again, with some wisdom and discernment with who I'm working with, release the truth to them, release some light about who they really are. If they are able to illustrate the type of business they want to enter into, for example, the type of people they want to work with, for example, the type of person they want to become, it's really important to get them to understand what needs to be sacrificed to get there. So I say this to say that those of you who are year over year, quarter over quarter, you're listening to certain gurus or psychologists, and there's some really good psychologists out there, but it's just not sticking. Is because the real message that you need to hear, all right, to take you across the finishing line is your old self has to die. And I would encourage you to hold the imagery of what actually happened to Jesus Christ on the cross, where his body had to crush. And because I believe in him, and there's many other believers of Jesus Christ out there, they know to enjoy the benefits of a new life, okay? And the promises of this new covenant, all right, this new agreement. You need to hold the imagery that your old self is dead before you come into agreement with those new, amazing, wonderful agreements that God promises, okay? You were actually promised good things when your old self, but you refused, or you were ignorant of the fact that to be, for example, productive, to be a multimillionaire, to be happily married, to have joyful children, there were parts of your personality that needed to be crushed. All right? For example, a mind that doubts that they can have everything that they want to have with the right teachings and right tools, that doubt is a resistance to your new ideal self. If you are somebody in the workplace and you want to get promoted to be a leader above all, but you carry bitterness and resentment in your soul, that bitterness and resentment is going to come out in your tone, in your emails, in your speech, in how you take care of people, you don't take care of people. It's going to come out, and it causes resistance to your promotion. The old self's got to die on the cross. So that's all I want to tell you today. And I hope you consider this message. I hope you meditate on this message and, minimize hopping from one place to another place. And at least instill with every message that you do get that resonates with you, at least sit still with that message, but add to it. If I want to change, for example, if I want to stop eating less, the old mindset, all right, that governs your current self, this old mindset has to die on the cross. Okay? So hold that imagery of the cross. It will be the most truthful, realist navigation system that you will have in your toolbox of change. That old self's got to die because the new self needs room to move around. The new self needs room to think, to breathe, to speak, to do, to act, and to believe. The new self needs a new home. All right? The old home has to die. Let me know what you think about that in the comment section. I always like to hear feedback from you all. I do provide services, so please check out my description for counsel. I do provide services for counsel. Do me a favor before you leave. As always, give me a thumbs up, okay, if you enjoyed the video, and feel free to share. Until next time, I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.